Thursday. Thursday already. And just about 5:10, right about when I said I was going to come live. And I also said I was going to read something. I'm not sure what yet. Last night I was set to read about oatmeal, and I never got around to it. Sorry. I'm going to bring my blog up and say hi to my cat. I don't know if you guys can hear her or not. Usually I like to make idle conversation for 5 minutes or so before I read from the blog. Otherwise, I always feel bad if somebody comes in when I'm reading and they don't understand anything that I'm saying, as opposed to if they come in any other part of the conversation and don't understand what I'm saying. So I might read a few things. We'll see. Um, as well, I want to cover a little bit about the channel, just the Yogi doing burpees in his basement. There's a reason for the just the Yogi. I've practiced yoga and meditation for um, all of my adult life in various degrees of seriousness. For from my 30s on up, and I'm going to be 59 in a couple weeks, 2 weeks, something like that. Um, it's been a constant, particularly meditation. I don't separate meditation from yoga because it's the same. It's the same path. That it's all yoga, every bit of it. But the reason for the just a yogi is this isn't a channel to teach anyone yoga or meditation or breath work. It's not a channel to show anyone how much I know. If anything, it would be a channel to show everyone how much I don't know, but how much I'm still willing to learn. So, with that in mind, and I mentioned this earlier today, I'm not really, the channel's not really one for debates. It's not really for someone to come here and say, this is what I think this is, as a challenge to me. Because I'm really just not interested in the challenge. I'm interested in growing and learning and expanding my knowledge base and my practice always. And more so, I'm interested in sharing and hopefully inspiring. Someone says, I'd like to try that. I would like to experience what Eric is talking about. Now we're getting somewhere. That's what the channel's all about. And that goes from burpees to the nature shorts to the live streams. It's all based upon just maybe inspiring someone a little bit. So with that said, let's start off and we're going to read about oatmeal. We're 5 minutes in. What I haven't done this for a while because I've had some really great conversations, especially, well, I was going to say especially in the evening, but really throughout the day. I try to go live twice, um, and I try to vary it in the evening doing the blog reading. And when I do, I read it once and then I read it again slower and I break it down. Sort of give the why. Why did I write this? Although to be honest, man, I don't know why. I don't know why I write anything. because I'm inspired to do so. It's not, again, I'm not teaching, I'm not instructing. I just put my stuff out there, things that I love, and I hope that people take it for that. That this is a guy who truly, truly loves the things he's talking about. Maybe I could do that too. Not what I'm doing, but make what they love their own path. That would be an awesome thing. So, April 14th, 2023, I wrote about oatmeal. Because I do love oatmeal. But more so, as I write in here, oatmeal's the essence of my morning practice. We'll talk about that in a minute. Oatmeal is the essence of my morning practice. It's preparation and then the enjoyment of my first meal. This is a mindful activity, yet more so, it's a ritual of gratitude, a deep appreciation of nourishment and flavor and all that has had to happen across the world to bring this meal to me. I take no aspect of this for granted, not the oats grown organically and with care, nor the blueberries and bananas packed with flavonoids and antioxidants. Flaxseed, walnuts, and just a touch of cinnamon add to this and provide further nutrients for my healthy function of my body. Everything is noted, just a brief nod of thanks for what's been given to me right now, a meal that's been offered directly from the earth and meant to nourish and heal. Yes, oatmeal is the essence of my morning practice. My breakfast is soon after meditation. My fast extended just a bit for yoga and writing. Coffee enjoyed at my desk as I write and listen to the morning's stir itself awake. I've long settled into this routine, every part enjoyable and suits my early mood. My fast used to be longer, the first meal put off until late afternoon, and this extended time agreed with my body, with many benefits found from this refrain. But the past few years have brought some changes that have caused me to end my fast early. Still a lengthy time, and one that builds an anticipation for my first meal. What I found is that so soon after meditation, still early, just before sunrise, and my mind retains the quietness of my sitting, a mindfulness that arrives quite naturally, easily. It takes no effort for gratitude to be offered now. It's a seamless moment of deep appreciation from waking to the preparation of my first meal, and further, through the day. It's spontaneous, lovingly so, and happens quite frequently as I make breakfast. Perhaps the combination of meditation and long fast prepare my heart to be open to this joy. And this is a true and real joy, soul deep in its appreciation, extending past the preparation of my meal to all that made this moment possible. It fills the world. Oatmeal is the essence of my morning practice, a manifestation of my day, and it happens naturally on its own. So that is the post I've promised for a few days, written last year about oatmeal. And as I said, that oatmeal is the essence of my morning practice. It's preparation and then enjoyment of my first meal. That it's a mindful activity. More so, it's a ritual of gratitude, a deep appreciation of nourishment and flavor, and all that has had to happen across the world to bring this meal to me. I take no aspect of this for granted, not the oats grown organically and with care, nor the blueberries and bananas packed with flavonoids and antioxidants. Flaxseed, walnuts, and just a touch of cinnamon add to this and provide further nutrients to the healthy function of my body. Everything is noted, just a brief nod of thanks for what's been given to me right now. A meal that's been offered directly from the earth and meant to nourish and heal. Yes, oatmeal is the essence of my morning practice. It's amazing to consider. Lots of things are amazing to consider, but everything involved to bring our meals, whatever it is we're eating, to bring it to us. For me, I use the example of oatmeal. It's a perfect ritual of gratitude that I can be thankful that I can literally talk to my food, and I thank the blueberries. I thank the bananas. I thank the flaxseed, the walnuts, the cinnamon. All of that was, and of course the oats themselves, all of that was grown with care. All of it had to be nurtured, meaning that the people who grew it had to truly care about what they were doing. Otherwise, it wouldn't have grown, it wouldn't have reached me. Especially when something's grown organically, especially when something, oatmeal and bananas, blueberries, all of that, grown from the earth, cared for, brought forth, nurtured. I love that word, nurtured. My oatmeal was nurtured and then lovingly brought to me. Boy, my part was easy. I had to buy it. And then, because I do the quick oats, it's ready in a minute. It's ready in 2 minutes. But I do have that time of putting the oats in the bowl, putting water in. When it's done, adding that stuff to it. Adding the blueberries, adding the bananas, adding the walnuts. And each ingredient gets a thank you. Everything. Every single ingredient that I put in my body or I'm about to put in my body gets a loving nod of deep, deep appreciation that I get to partake in this nourishing food that someone grew for me. I don't know who it was. Not only that, someone had to package it. Someone had to put it in a truck. Someone had to drive it to the grocery store. And someone took my money and put it in a bag for me, gave it to me, and here it is. Miraculous events all leading to a single bowl of oatmeal every morning. But none of those actions are taken for granted by me. I absolutely love everybody who made this possible. Don't know who they are. Don't even know the title of their jobs. I just know that they were people who served in some way. And I take that with me through the rest of the day. My friend Goldie is here. Our friend Goldie is here. Hi there, lovely people. So far, you are the lovely person. It's me and you, my friend. People popping in and out. Seems to have been a slow day for me here, which is fine. As I mentioned before, the conversation continues either way, with or without an audience. I come here to talk. I come here to read stuff. And because it's important to me. Hey, our friend Elise is here. I did not expect Elise to be here. We have 2 wrenches. That's absolutely awesome. According to Goldie, our friend 420, he says give everyone a wrench. That way everyone can check out each other's channels. What do you think of that? Lee says they only have a little time. Tonight I'm at work. Yeah, you mentioned that you were at work. That's why I was surprised to see you. I appreciate the effort to be here. I just read my blog post from last year about oatmeal. I've been wanting to read it. It's not an ode. It's not an ode to my oatmeal. It could have been an ode to my oatmeal. I do like oatmeal. But it's more the fact that, especially my breakfast, that everything is so of the earth. The oats, the fruits, the walnuts, the flaxseed, that I just find myself sinking into this deep, deep gratitude for everything that's involved in making this meal possible. Even further than the farmers and the truck drivers and the packagers. Thankful for the earth, thankful for the sun, for the rain. I keep that in mind. This is the 4th day in a row that we've had rain here. And it reminds me that there's a reason we're having this rain. There's a reason for these April showers. And then today we had that brief window of sunlight and warmth. And I saw the world just now briefly turning green, just at that cusp. The greening of the world is going to begin. Then the flowers appear. So I'm thankful for the rain, even as I'm soaking wet every morning. Goldie says, I think that's risky because you open yourself up to people having power to block others. Yes, that's true. That's a really good point. And I have never blocked anyone. I don't suspect I will. I might. You never know. Um, I can't perceive of a case. I started talking the beginning of tonight's conversation about my channel. Goldie says, so if you're asking for my advice, which I was, my friend, and I appreciate it, I would say have a handful of people you truly trust. Okay. And Elise says, I agree with Goldie. Far be it from me to argue with the only two people I've ever given wrenches to. So I trust both of you explicitly. Goldie amazes me. Goldie is supporting every channel I visit. She's a presence, and not only a presence, she's a strong, loving, caring presence on every single channel that I visit, it seems, which is amazing. And also opens me up even further to want to keep supporting these channels. The channels that I subscribe to a lot, and not just people who subscribe to me. I just a lot because I want to support people, and it's not because they support me. I appreciate that, but man, the things that I've learned from watching Goldie, the things that I've learned from watching Masha, have really been helpful and really amaze me and confirm what I want with my own channel. And as I mentioned, every once in a while I have someone come by who wants to challenge me, challenge my knowledge of meditation and yoga. And I explained earlier that there's a reason why I have just a yogi. Because although I've been doing this virtually my entire life, this channel isn't about teaching. It's about learning. It's not about showing how much I know. It's about showing how much I don't know so that we can all learn together. And hopefully, it's about inspiring all of us to learn about whatever it is that we find ourselves passionate to be. Let's see. Elise says, Goldie says, yes, I did block people on my channel. Sometimes it's probably the best bet. Discretion. And I'm sure that, it was at your discretion that you felt it was best for your channel to do so. Goldie says, I will check your channel out after work. And Goldie says, and I would choose people who are usually up and able to be there so they can watch out for you. Excellent, excellent advice. And Eric speaks so highly of your channel. I speak very highly of Goldie. As I mentioned, she's just supporting these channels full-heartedly, which I love seeing. And it inspires me. Inspires me to want to support the people who I really feel are, it's not for me to say that, what type of job you're doing, but when I visit you, if I get the feeling that you're just putting out so much joy, if I get that heart sense that this is a good person who truly just wants to help people, who wants to share what they love, share their passion, like my friend Odom's Homestead. uh, who loves his garden so much that sometimes he breaks out in spontaneous song to God for growing his garden. How beautiful is that? And how can you not want to support that and have as many people as possible come there to see this man who tells me that gardening changed his life, where he went from what he said was a violent person to a loving and compassionate man full of God's love. Um, that's, for me, that's a miracle. I've talked, my own little miracle of how I quit a decade-long career of alcohol abuse. I can't even say I quit. I just seamlessly stopped in an instant. One moment, being drunk, and I had a clearly present voice say, if you want, you can never take a drink again right now. And somehow I said, okay. And I never took a drink again from that moment. And I never really, truly wanted a drink. It was like every cell in my body was reborn as a non-drinker, and I walked away from it. And it was a decade of heavy, heavy, heavy drinking, of wrecking my cars, endangering people, ruining relationships, making myself miserable. And yet somehow I was granted that little bit of grace to walk away from it. It never ceases to amaze me when I think about it. Elise says, you're welcome, beautiful Goldie. Goldie says, I refuse to spread the negative, so I'm not going to explain why. Excellent. I explained to someone earlier today why I didn't wish to debate, that I didn't want to put my knowledge against someone else's, that if you believe you know more than me, you probably do, and I don't care. That's fine. I don't want to prove how knowledgeable I am. I want to prove how much I'm open to learn. I want to prove how open I am to inspiration, how open I am to just spreading the things that I absolutely love that have made such a big difference in my life. Goldie says, the only live I made was to push another video. See, that doesn't surprise me at all. That just seems like the type of support that you would do for a channel that you truly, truly care about. Goldie says, speaking of supporting, want to jump over to a live when you are finishing your live? Maybe. I would love to jump over to a live, but generally when I finish here, I'm straight into bed. I finish here and I have about 10 minutes of breathing to help me go to sleep. I read from a spiritual text, and then I'm in bed. I'm up at 2:30 in the morning. But I would put him up to give him some watch hours. Elise says, this beautiful community brings my heart joy. I miss it when I cannot jump on. I appreciate that. And you know what? I'm really looking forward to welcoming your creative effort into the fold. That's a hint that I think you should start your own YouTube channel as soon as possible. You have a lot to offer the world, and you know what? YouTube is a great way of doing so. It's a great way of, I've used an expression from demolition before. I don't know anything about demolition really, but I read this in a book once that when they're demolishing a building, They don't use one big blast. There's several little charges placed around that building, and they go off like in a circle, in a square around the building, and the building collapses. Don't really care for the metaphor because it's on the destructive side, but it reminds me of what we're doing. That um, every every channel, every live stream, every positive video, every time Goldie goes to someone's channel and supports them out of the love that's in her heart, you're detonating that one little boom. Doesn't seem to make much of a difference, but they keep adding up and adding up and adding up. And eventually, we're in this positive state of happiness and joy and service to other people. Let's see. Elise says, it's beautiful to be open to learn. It is. Goldie says, I have a good respectful debate, but I admit I'm ignorant in many ways, as I am too, which puts me in a position of just not wanting to debate. Not at this point in my life. If someone wants to show me how much more they know about any of the things I talk about meditation or yoga or breath work, you don't need to challenge me. Just say, hey, this is what I know, and trust me, I'll be impressed. But a challenge to me means that you already want to show me how much you know. So let's skip that. Let's skip the negative part of it and get right to the positive. Show me what you know, and I will give you all the praises in the world. But if you have an attempt to, one, show me what I don't know, again, that's absolutely fine. I already know that I don't know a lot. And that's after 40 plus years of doing this stuff. I'll never know everything. I'll never even, and the things that I do know, I often mispronounce. So I don't know anyone. I don't need to know how much I don't know, because it's already clearly evident. Goldie says, I hear you. Remember Medic yesterday? I certainly do. I got a chance to talk with him a little bit on Masha's stream this afternoon. And I heard that he was going live. I thought that was Friday evening. Miss T with T is here. Good evening. Hello, my friend. How are you? I enjoyed visiting you today. Elise says, yes, I got the hint, and I will get started soon. You know, the only reason I'm hinting so strongly is because I 100% believe in what you have to give to the world. And it's a lot. Goldie says, yes, but it also comes with a warning sign. Lisa's saying hi to Miss T with T. Someone else with a wonderful channel. Goldie said, well, set up boredom at work. I need a soundtrack. Hey, you know what? We never know where we get that inspiration from. And boredom can be a powerful force. I don't know how many books that I picked up out of boredom that were just laying around that maybe I had for decades, or they belonged to someone in my family. And because I was bored, I picked them up and started reading, and all of a sudden I was blown wide open. The exact book that I needed changed in the course of my life. I've read the first passage of the book Born to Run in 2009. I wasn't going to buy it. I was in line to buy a book that I had in my hand, and it was on those little racks as you're checking out. And it was a long line, and I picked up the book, and I read the first line, and it said, quoted the Tao Te Ching, that the best runners leave no tracks behind. And I thought, wait, this isn't in a book about running, and he's quoting the Tao Te Ching. I'm interested in running. I run. I love the Tao Te Ching. I was actually working on a book of my own of the Tao Te Ching at the time. And I thought, yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll get it. And I maybe not. Started to put it back. And I leafed through it again. Decided to get it. By the time I got up to the checkout counter, I'd read the first 1 or 2 paragraphs, and I knew I was going to run 100 miles. I became an ultra runner in line, Borders bookstore, without even purchasing the book yet, because I was bored waiting in line. Not only did I become an ultra runner, I dragged Mocha McCarty into becoming an ultra runner, who is truly, as I mentioned before the other night, a tough ultra runner. Mocha McCarty says hi, and Elisa's saying hi, and Goldie says hi, and a hi to Miss T. Miss T says good evening, Goody. Goldie, sorry. Gator is here. Gator 1414 says hi. Hello, Gator, my friend. How are you? Appreciate you being here. Goldie says he's on a panel right now with the Norwegian troll I mentioned the other day. I remember, well, this afternoon, Masha was talking quite a bit about him. Definitely interested. If I don't get there this evening, I will definitely watch it. Everyone's saying hi to Mocha and to Gator. Goldie says, I got more Christianity, C.S. Lewis, for my birthday. That's next on my reading list. Speaking of inspirational, C.S. Lewis, very inspirational. He was everything positive, and is everything positive about Christianity, I think. He sets the true message of the heart, the true message of Christ. Same with, I'm a big fan of Thomas Merton. I have several of his books back here. Seven Story Mountain, his autobiography. Goldie says, don't worry, I got all of my names misspelled at one point or another. I will most often say someone's name wrong. So I appreciate Goldie because I know I can pronounce it. I know I can pronounce it 9 times out of 10. It's that 10th time that's going to get me. Goldie says, well, I'm using 3 devices and 2 accounts, watching 3 different channels. I have several channels up. I have our friend Noble and his live stream. I have Smitty Deuces 187 and his partner Tokyo. I have them both up and running. And I had, it just ran out, who I just met today on Masha's channel, Hannah. Wonderful, heartwarming channel. And she also mentioned she needed to watch ours, so I'll have her up again. I thought about creating another account so I could do even more. I'm not sure how to do that, though. Goldie said, yes, as I said, I am a Romanian citizen of Hungarian ethnicity. Who is it? Relaxing. His whole channel, I can't remember. I just call him Relaxing. He is Romanian, or he talks about Romania and wishing to go back. So he's not in Romania now. Elise says, my beautiful friends, my break is up. I will hit the like button on the way out. Good night, everyone. Thank you for hitting the like button. Um, I'm supposed to always remember to say that. Please hit the like button. So um, please hit the like button. Goldie says, but my official name is Hungarian. Thank God I was given Goldie as a pet name when I was born. Goldie says, who? He visits often, relaxing. See if I can find him on my channel. There it is, right off the bat. Relaxing, asthma, colors, draw, fun. And yeah, he visits almost every night. I'm surprised I haven't seen him yet. Goldie said, I remember my teachers trying to pronounce my Hungarian name. Yep. I remember my grandmother occasionally speaking Hungarian. We had a pulley, Hungarian sheepdog, when I was a kid. My mother really wanted one. And she was an awesome, awesome dog. And her name was Jetta, which was probably mispronounced. It was supposed to mean come. So every time we were saying Jetta, supposedly we were saying come in Hungarian. Let's see. Cody says that was a joy to watch. Yeah, I bet. It always when someone mangles a name or word. Cody says, but living in Transylvania, I also met bigots. It seems as if the world has its share. That's for sure. I'm taking my melatonin, ashwagandha combination. What Gordy says, oh yes, in all faiths. And it's a shame too. It's a shame that people can be so faithful to their faith, but not the teachings themselves. That we have, I always mention the explicit directions that Jesus gave everyone. This is how to follow Christ. This is how to be my follower. This is how to get into heaven. Gear, gear equals come in Hungarian. So we were mispronouncing my dog's the intent of her name. That's a problem with generations removed from the original language. My grandmother was a child, little. It was her grandparents. My grandmother's parents came. Grandmother was just a child. She was the oldest. I think all the rest of the children were born in the United States. And once they learned English, they didn't speak a whole lot of Hungarian. My grandmother didn't speak it fluently. So then my mom only got a smattering of it. Gordy says, G is a group of letters that give out a sound. Interesting. So if we have the, Gordy says, your pronunciation was close. Good. If we have these instructions, And there, whatever your faith is, there's a holy book in your faith that gives you clear instructions on how to display your faith. And all of it is based on universal principles of love and of kindness and of compassion and empathy. So there's really no excuses, I guess I could say, other than our humanness. But, within our humanness is planted the seed of divinity so that we can be better than mere humans. That was the whole point of um, Jesus being a man and the Son of God, to show the power of transcendence. Goldie says, yes, it is, but many people keep it on a shelf to collect dust or pay brief tribute to it once a week or once every couple of weeks or on certain holidays. And they talk a good talk. But Christianity is a practice. You practice the teachings of Christ. Buddhism is a practice. You practice the teachings of Buddha. Yoga is a practice. Goldie says, yes, but then, but for that you need to put your down the selfish ways, which we're supposed to do. I agree with you 100%, and no one wants to do that. It's hard. It's not easy, but we're given instructions on how to do it. So you practice. Don't expect to be perfect. Practice. It's a wonderful thing about having a spiritual practice, be it Christianity or Buddhism or yoga. They don't expect you to start out being good, but they expect you to be consistent in your practice, to start over again, to not make a mistake and then throw your hands up in the air and give up and say, well, I tried. I guess I wasn't meant to be a good Christian. Oh, well. Jesus says, try again, try again, try again, try again. Buddha says, you just keep trying. Goldie says, yes, it's a practice taken too far away from its intent, turned into a theory, listened to in church. I agree, my friend. And sadly, it's actually turned away from practice. If you go to church, they talk about a lot of things, at least last time I was in church, but they didn't say, okay, in this sermon, I'm going to tell you how to practice this aspect of Christianity. I'm going to teach you how to forgive. When Jesus was asked, how many times do you forgive? Should we forgive? What was the answer? 4 times or 7 times 70? I need to look that up. Maybe it was 70 times 7. But it was a metaphor for as many times as you err. You forgive, you forgive, you forgive. Jesus, on the cross, after being forced to carry it, after being whipped, after being mocked, stones thrown at him, and then nailed to the cross. And what did he do? He lifted his head and said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. And of course, Jesus, Son of God, could have called for vengeance, could have, who knows, the power, what he could have done. Instead, he forgave from the cross. And that's the essence of Christianity. That's the practice. Forgive, forgive, forgive. Love. As I read 1 or 2 days ago when Goldie was here, St. Paul's letter to the Corinthians. Goldie says 70 times 7. Because 7 is complete and also the infinite number. Thank you. I always loved that. 70 times 7. And I love the whole message of forgiveness in Christianity. Maybe more so, it's presented in other faiths, other religions, but I think maybe more so than any other religion, Christianity emphasizes the art and the practice of forgiveness. And it is a difficult path. It's difficult to forgive ourselves. Maybe more difficult than forgiving others. And I think the fact that it's so difficult for us to forgive ourselves, that we also make it difficult to bestow that upon others. I haven't forgiven myself yet. Why should I forgive you? Why should I forgive you? I'm sure it's not that way with everyone, but maybe for some. I always love the quote attributed to Mark Twain. I don't know 100% for sure, but it was forgiveness is the fragrance released by the violet upon the heel that has crushed it. Absolutely beautiful line. Gordy says, but the one thing every Christian jumps over is forgive our debts as we forgive our debtors. This is true. Imagine a nation of practicing Christians. I'm not talking about a Christian nation. I'm talking about a nation of practicing Christians. Gordy says, very few actually see that it's a condition we need to forgive in order to be forgiven. It's an insightful comment. Buddhist psychology, yogic psychology, sort of alludes to the same thing, that the reason people do and live a certain way isn't because they wish to suffer or wish to cause suffering, but they are deluded by their attachments and their aversions. They don't know the nature of their own mind. And to me, that was a great message from Jesus on the cross when he said, they do not know what they do. People are living in ignorance. If they knew that every pain and suffering, every pain and sorrow they cause another is truly inflicted within their own heart as well, would they continue to hurt people that way? So the prayer for forgiveness was a prayer for these people to wake up. If you woke up to your own power of empathy, you would never be able to hurt another creature. It would be an impossibility, because it would cause you as much pain, more pain, than it does anyone else. Goldie says, I used to be the one who wanted to stand out, so I would push others down so I can look better in comparison. That's sort of what I mentioned with someone who wanted to challenge me with our yogic knowledge. That the only reason he would ask me a question was so he could jump in and say, no, you're wrong. This is the truth. This is what it is. And I'd much rather him come out and say, this is what it is. No need to try to diminish anything, anyone, me or anyone else. Because I'm perfectly willing, to, as much as I've learned through the years, my knowledge is always going to be limited. Goldie says, I didn't understand back then that that was actually only revealed how weak and mean I was. Hindsight is a wonderful and painful thing at once. To be able to see how we were and how we reacted, and at the same time, it's so painful to realize the things we did, how we behaved, what we believed, the harm that we caused without meaning to, but we thought we had to. That's why, for me, it became easier and easier to forgive. Just that simple thought, because they thought they had to. That's why it's easy for me to forgive myself. Now, it took some time. Because at the time, I believe I had to do that to feel better about myself. Because I was suffering. Because I thought if I made this person feel a different way, I might suffer less. Or I might look better, as Goldie said, in comparison. Or I might get the attention that I craved. 1,000 different excuses. None of them valid. But at the time, I thought that was the way. Doesn't make it right, but I acted out of ignorance. If you can't forgive ignorance, and a lot of times people mistake when we talk about ignorance as meaning that we're saying we were stupid. No, it means we didn't know. If we knew better. Now, sometimes there might be a case where someone does know better and they still act a certain way. Why? I don't know. I wish I did, but I don't. I like to say human nature, but you know what? There's a duality for human nature. It's a devil on one side and there's an angel on the other. So when we say human nature, back in the 1980s, a plane crashed in the Patuxent River outside of Washington, D.C. Several people drowned. It was in January, I think. River was frozen. And there was one passenger who refused to get to reach for a helping hand. He went back into the water and he helped the person make their way and get that helping hand. And then he did it again and again and again until finally he succumbed to the cold and the tiredness, injuries that he had, and he sunk. That's human nature. He helped and he helped and he helped and he helped. And then there was participants in the Holocaust. Some being dragged in, some willingly so. Evil was committed. Atrocities. Part of human nature. Which side do we lean to? I don't know. Is it conditioning? But I think the compassionate, empathetic side is our truest nature. And that with the right conditioning, the right teaching, the right grace, which comes unexpectedly, the nature of grace, it's unearned, but it's given. You can put yourself in a position to receive it. Gordy said, all paths we used to walk on. Indeed, my friend. We automatically walk on the same. Yeah. Unless we make a choice to walk a different path. And sometimes we don't even know another paths exist until it's revealed. That's the amazing thing. That, I was talking about grace, that all of a sudden, out of nowhere, another path reveals itself. When I mentioned earlier how I quit drinking, it wasn't even a choice. I was given that clear message that if I never wanted to have another drink again, I didn't have to. And instead of seeing it as two choices, it was almost like this path was illuminated. The other path didn't exist. I just went in the path that was illuminated and never had another drink again. Fortunate. lucky. Had I continued on the path that I was, I would not be here, or worse, I would be here and there would be a long list of people that I had hurt and injured along the way. Goldie says, you don't need to talk to me about grace and forgiving myself. Um, no, I get the impression um, you have walked that path. And from how it appears, my friend, that you have come out of the far end. You've come out of the far end with a clear light, which doesn't mean that, we still don't have work to do. All of us do. Grace is indeed a blessing. Goldie says, I was an unwed mother. You don't want to hear the words I was telling myself. And I imagine in your country, that would be a much, much harsher situation than it is here in America. And at one time, that could be pretty harsh. But even then, I don't think it was as bad as it probably was for you. Goldie says it was grace that gave me power to grow from that position. Amazing when it happens. Amazing when it happens so clearly. It seems like we're given a choice, but again, with grace, it's illuminated so clearly. It doesn't feel like it. Because for me, when I quit drinking, when I went in that direction, I didn't struggle. It wasn't like I was recovering alcoholic. It was like I wasn't even someone that related to who I used to be. Every cell in my body was transformed into someone who didn't drink or want to drink. I didn't feel the need to go to meetings, support groups, as many people do, and they should, if that's the path that works for them. Goldie says, nope, that's exaggerating. Put the middle situation in your country, and that was what I was facing. Well, as we were saying, sometimes our own judgment is the harshest of all. Goldie says, but because I was judging myself, I thought everyone else was judging me too. Amazing what that self-reflection, or as Carl Jung, the shadow, the things that we can't face about ourselves, the shame, the sorrow, the discomfort, all of it. We push it aside, we push it aside, we push it aside, but it just grows and it grows and it grows. And we don't escape the shadow, we just learn to work with it. We learn to illuminate ourselves, or be illuminated, to be illuminated by grace. And then the shadow diminishes on its own. Gordy says, 19 years down the line, I'm still learning and growing. Emotionally, you seem to have come far. And the important thing is, as you mentioned, that you're still learning and growing. Which is important. We were talking about Christianity being a practice. And it amazes me that so many Christians, so many Buddhists, so many people in the yoga community reach a point where they feel that there's nothing left to learn, nowhere to grow. They've reached that pinnacle. And I see that in Christianity here in America, that because I'm a Christian, I'm right and everyone else is wrong. Instead of saying, I need to keep working on myself. I need to keep opening. I need to keep growing. I need to keep expanding. Gordy says, thank you. My daughter is an amazing young lady. My thoughts, it takes an amazing mother to produce an amazing young lady. So I have no doubt that both is the case. Gordy says, not true. There's always more to learn. We're only perfect in the afterlife. I agree. And that's why it always amazes me that people believe that they've reached that level of, or saying, well, I'm a Christian, so this is it. And I mean, one of the basic tenets of Christianity is learning not to judge others where they are, their position in life, their position on their journey. And yet, probably the most judgmental people that I know are the most religious, regardless of faith. Gordy says, don't you have an expression, know-it-all? We certainly do. Which is why I always emphasize that I don't know, that I'm a perpetual student of the things that I love, and will remain that way. In Zen Buddhism, there's the teaching they call the don't know mind. You stay open. You don't have the answers. And again, I'm always drawn towards the Christian mystics, St. John of the Cross, St. Teresa, Meister Eckhart, St. Catherine of Siena. And it always seems to point that bare essence of Christianity that contains all the teachings of forgiving and forgiving, non-judging. They talk about the mystery, the ineffable. If things are a mystery, then how can you judge? Gordy says yes, because they get lost in the rule, not in the practice. Calling them religious is perfect. I agree. And this is something that you and I keep coming back to, that I think Christianity needs to emphasize the practice again. When you go to church, they need to outline the practice of Christianity. We don't expect you to be perfect. We expect you to practice and to practice and to practice. You're going to get it wrong, but you keep practicing. Getting something wrong, I think the original word for sin in Greek was to miss the mark. I think. I've heard that. I've read that. And I like it. So even if it's not true, I like the emphasis of the fact of missing the mark, because that means you can try again. You can get back on the path. That's why I love referring to things as a practice. And that's why I have just a yogi. So, if people say, so you're a yoga expert, My answer is always no. I'm just a yogi. I practice. Gordy says, my goal is to hear at the end of my road, well done, good and faithful servant. Those are the words I hope to hear from my Savior. I have no doubt that you will. And the reason why I say I have no doubt that I will is because of the conversation that we're having, because we're talking about practicing, because you practice. And as you said, you're willing to face up, own mistakes, and to keep practicing. It's only over when it's over. And so we keep trying. It's a wonderful thing about a practice. And we can honestly say our life is our practice. I always love Gandhi's line, that my life is my message. That's why I say my life is my practice. That's why I've read in my post about oatmeal. Oatmeal can be your practice of gratitude. Tracing the oatmeal to every possible source and just offering a little prayer of thank you, thank you, thank you. Having someone show up on your YouTube channel to troll you. An opportunity to forgive. Doesn't mean you need to keep putting up with the behavior. But when they show up, we don't cast judgment. We forgive. And then we can block them if we choose to. But it's a good reminder. It's a good way to practice. Everything that comes up is part of the path. St. Catherine, speaking of St. Catherine of Siena, my favorite line, all the way to heaven is heaven. That means it's a continuous road of practice. Gordy says, yes, it is missing the mark. And yes, practice makes perfect eventually. And as you said, not in this lifetime, but we keep practicing. So when we have that moment, whatever your faith is, when we have that moment, we either have our Savior saying you've been a good and faithful servant, or we have whatever it is of our faith. Ram Dass, we're all just walking each other home. We get to that end of the path, and we're at the end of the path. Gordy says, of course not here. Well, as you said up above, that perfection is only in the afterlife. In the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, there's the Bodhisattva who reached that perfect stage of enlightenment, but choose to come back repeatedly, taking the vow, the Bodhisattva vow, that they will not enter the kingdom of heaven. They will not be enlightened. They will not, whatever happens at that point, until everyone has the chance, until everyone's liberated, until everyone is awakened, until everyone reaches that point of near perfection, taking that final step. Gordy says, yes, and I stand by that. Well, I have met some pretty awesome people. I've met some powerful yogis. I've met some gurus. I've met some people who were considered saints in their religion. I have never met anyone who was perfect. Not truly so. I mean, I sort of think of it in two different ways. That we have the perfect potential in our humanity. I think that's what Jesus showed, was the fact that humans have the potential. And then he said, this is how you do it. What he says, plenty who thought themselves perfect. Oh yeah, every day. I am shown that every day. And I remind myself that if I see that, if I can recognize that, if it's reflected back to me, then I must contain some aspect of that within myself. So instead of judging that person, work on myself. Keep cleansing myself of those things that make me think that I've reached any stage of perfection. Yoga reminds me of that. Every time I fall out of a yoga pose, I am faced with my um, both my vanity of, hey, I did this pose near perfectly, followed instantly from my fall from grace, reminding myself, no, I only thought that I was doing that pose perfectly. There's a big difference in thinking of perfection and actually achieving perfection. Because if we think we've achieved it, we haven't. So, I think for tonight, I'm going to end it. Goldie, I really appreciate your company this evening. I had a great conversation. I learned a lot. And as always, I'm inspired. I come away from our conversation inspired. And what time did you say the medics was going to be talking? Goldie says dropping fast in Poker Rosie. I will, and that's on Medic's channel, or is there? Milka says class is over. Good. You can get some rest. Goldie's going to drop a link. We're about to call it a night, Mocha. Goldie's going to drop a link that I'm going to visit for a little bit. Had a really great conversation with Goldie. Yeah, Goldie, I heard some bad things about this guy. Let's see. I'm looking at some of the live that have popped up. I'm just waiting for a link. Appreciate you dropping in, Mocha. Goldie says this will take you straight in. All right, I'm going to check it out. So, let's say goodbye, say goodnight. Spend a few minutes over there, bring some support, see what this guy was all about. Because I haven't heard anything good about him. Masha definitely does not appreciate him. Mocha says, sure thing, darling. And, oh, hey, Mocha, we can hit the duck pond tomorrow if you would like. It's supposed to be nice tomorrow. Or not the duck pond, turtle pond. Goldie says, see you there. It's a lot of banter about that person. I will be sure to check it out. I'm way over. So, thank you, everyone. Truly, truly appreciate it. And I will see everyone later.